Hey guys, welcome back to Greg's Fishroom. Today we are going to take a look at what we can build out of a giant pile of slate tiles. Now, I've done some slate projects in the past, but maybe nothing to this magnitude and scale before, so I'm happy to take a second pass at slate, especially when it comes to building Pleco caves. So let's get to it. We're gonna go outside, take a look at the slate that we acquired. We're gonna cut it up, we're gonna glue it together. I'm gonna show you the entire process. So come along with me and learn how to be a better aquarist. Okay, we're outside and check out this stockpile of slate tile. Now, I got this stuff off Facebook Marketplace. It was basically free, and the story goes the people were renovating their house. They were told to purchase 10% more tile than they needed, which allowed them to pick through the pieces that they wanted for their nice new floor. And that left all of this tile left. It was a custom ordered slate, and so they couldn't return the leftovers, so they just threw it up on Marketplace after having it in their basement doing nothing for a year or so. They're just tired of looking at it, so I basically got it all for free. Now, one piece of tile is not that heavy, but I gotta tell you, moving a couple hundred pieces of tile gets pretty heavy pretty quickly, and so I've had this stuff out here over the winter under a tarp, but it's high time that we start utilizing this stuff for some Pleco caves and some DIY projects. So I'm gonna grab a few pieces and we'll go over to the tile saw and we'll get cutting. Okay, here is our tile saw, and here are a few of the slate tiles that we just selected. Now let's walk through the tile saw real quick, just in case you've never used one. This is a wet tile saw, which means if we open this compartment up, you can see this is where the water goes. So I stick this plug in here, and it has an overflow height, which allows enough water to come in contact with the blade that when it spins, it's always coated with water, and it allows that diamond blade to stay cool while it's cutting tile. Now, the tile saw itself isn't super expensive, but the blades are pretty expensive, and so you want to make these last as long as possible. What that means is don't go too fast, never use it when it's dry, and when you're done, make sure you wash and clean everything out and then drain it so that it's not sitting in a pool of water for a long period of time, because that would rust your blade. So that's about it. You can see this keeps the water down. Make sure you don't get splashed too hard. When we're cutting our pieces, what we're going to do is look at this ruler here and then use our guide and essentially find, you know, whatever measurement we want. And then when we got it in the right spot, we can clamp it down. And what that allows us to do is push that tile through, and it keeps it nice and straight with the blade. Now, I still have to fill this with water, but I'll put this on for the time being. It looks like this. Now, two things that are really good to have, useful to have, is a push stick so that your fingers aren't getting too close to that blade, depending on how thick your piece of slate is. You might not have a lot of space, so having a push stick is always good. And then a sponge, because you're going to need to clean up after yourself, and it's sometimes good to actually put this in front of the blade while it's spinning down and shutting off, because it's going to throw water all over the place. So two good things to have with you there. The only other thing is I've clamped this to the table to make sure it's not moving as I'm pushing material through it. So that's the wet tile saw. Let's get cutting. Alright guys, and here is the finished product. We've got 4 individual slate caves that we've created here in 3 different styles, and I think they turned out fantastic. Now the first one we have here is more of a Pleco condominium, if you will, and there's a backside on this, so the Plecos can get in and they can breed in there because there's a back piece to it. There's 6 total here, so that makes a pretty good option if you've got a medium to large size tank, like a 20-gallon or larger. Something like this I think would work out great. The dimensions here, we've got 5.5 inches deep, which I find is about perfect for most Bristlenose Plecos, and then it's about 2 inches per cave here, so I think this is the full 12 inches of that slate tile there, and it's going to be a little bit less because you've got all these dividers in between. But the height right here, from here to here, this is a 3/4 inch piece of slate, and I found that's about perfect. If you go 1 inch tall, it seems to be a little bit too large, and Plecos, especially Bristlenose, when they get in there, they like to have their fins touch the left and the right, and then be able to just barely squeeze in height-wise. That makes them feel really secure. And if it's too large, they won't feel secure and they won't use it. So something like this just seems like it works out great. And this would be great for a whole breeding colony of Plecos. Give them plenty of options to pick from. The only downside to something like this is it literally weighs a ton. It's like friggin' bench pressing a brick. It's so heavy. It's crazy how heavy this is. And partly due to the fact that I chose really thick top and bottom pieces of tile here. And that's just because there's natural variation in the slate. Some of the slate is really thick, some of it's very thin. Sometimes the slate sort of cracks in half and then you get 2 thinner pieces. These ones just happen to be very thick, and I selected those for this because I wanted it to be nice and robust. But the good thing is the glue that we worked with here, the cyanoacrylate super glue, worked great, and this seems like it's, you know, solid, like super solid, one piece. I don't foresee this coming apart ever, and so really happy with the glue, the performance of that glue, and how well it has bonded these pieces of slate together. All right, moving over here, we've stuck with the 5.5 inch deep trend here, and I wanted everything to be around the right size for my Bristlenose. So I went with a 2 inch here, this is 4 inch, and then the bottom is 6 inch. And I could have kept going. I could have made this a larger pyramid, but my tanks aren't very tall water height wise, so I didn't want to go too crazy. This one, however, is not necessarily a cave for breeding in. This is just a pass-through. So we got a little pass-through pyramid here with 3 little hidey holes that those Plecos can swim through. And again, pretty solid. I like it. It's a little bulky, but I think it gets the job done pretty well. So cool thing to experiment with there. Maybe if I try this again, I'll go 3 high instead of just 2 high. I think it'd be cool to get an extra layer on this, but concept is sound. Again, the glue held up great, and we could just keep going with this if we wanted to. All right, and the final one here is really, I think, what I've honed in on as the ideal dimensions for a Bristlenose Pleco cave, and that is, again, we've got the 5.5 inches long here, or deep, by 2 inches wide, and then again we've got the 3/4 inch height to it. And the way that this is constructed is we've got a 2 inch by 3/4 inch piece on the back, and then we've got essentially a 5.5 inch by 3/4 inch piece on the side, and it was just cut down a little bit to allow that back piece on. So we've got that on all three sides there. So it's 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch on the sides, and then the top and the bottom basically form a sandwich. And that, I think, is the best method to construct these, especially with the super glue. As you saw in the time lapse, it just makes it really easy to assemble these with the super glue and just like stick them together like Legos with the glue. And it works pretty well. Everything just sort of sits flat, lays flat together, lines up pretty easily. Easy to just stick each piece together while it's still gluing up, and get a pretty excellent result here. And so I made 2 of these. They're exactly the same. Really the only difference is some of these pieces are a little bit thinner, some of them are a little bit thicker, and so slate is a natural material. No 2 slate caves like this are ever going to be exactly the same. We're going to get some different color patterns on the slate itself. You can see I've got some excess glue. Not too bad. I tried to be as neat as I could with the glue. And the one thing I will say about slate caves for Plecos is if you have any gaps anywhere, anywhere you can see daylight through the cave, those are caves that the Plecos are probably not going to like as much. I know in the wild, one of the things that they look for is a nice safe spot to lay their eggs, and I have heard if you can see daylight through a cave, usually they won't select it because it's not as secure of a location for them to lay their eggs. So that's it. Those are the caves. 1, 2, 3. I think these turned out great. I've got a ton more slate, so we will definitely do a ton more slate projects in the near future. I am certain of that. If you want to check out the glue, the cyanoacrylate that I have here, I'll leave a link in the description to that. This is a big bottle of glue, and if you're doing very small projects, I would highly recommend just getting the tiny little cyanoacrylate super glue little sticks. But if you're doing basically production work, if you've got, like I do, many slate tiles, and you just want to do a whole bunch all at once in one sitting, a big bottle like this is going to be a lot less expensive for you in the long run. But you don't want to hold on to a bottle like this for a long period of time because it can get glued up, gummed up, and you could end up wasting it. So if you've got a lot to glue, get a big bottle. Otherwise, stick to a smaller bottle. Oh, lights went out. That means we must be done.
All right, and that's gonna do it for today's video. It's kind of crazy how much some of this stuff weighs. This is like picking up a cinder block almost, and it was a lot of fun to put these things together, a lot of fun to use these materials to make DIY products for our own aquariums. Now, these things are super cheap. Even though I got the slate for free, even if you were to pay for the slate tile, basically a normal bristlenose Pleco cave like this maybe costs 30 to 60 cents worth of slate and then like 10 cents worth of glue, something like that. Really all it takes is your time, and you need obviously the tools and equipment to be able to cut the pieces and assemble them together. But this was super fun. I'm definitely going to make a whole bunch more of these. I think this is the size that I've settled on, that I like the best. And again, this is 5.5 inches long, 2 inches wide, and then this piece on the side is 3/4 inches tall. And the dimensions may vary a little bit based on how thick your slate is, but this just seems like it's the perfect size for a bristlenose Pleco, and I can't wait to drop these in my tanks and see how they do over time. It's always great to give your Plecos lots of hiding spaces and lots of options, whether that be a regular ceramic clay cave, whether it's a plant watering spike, whether it's something else like a slate cave like this. lots of different options out there, and the more options you give them, the better chances they're gonna find something they like and they're gonna use to breed. So, everything's good. I thought this was a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to use more Slate in the future, and I'm be sure to bring you along for those videos as well. Anyways, that's it for me. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a like, please subscribe, but also please check out Nature Forged Aquatics on Amazon. You can check out products like this, the Nature Forged Aquatics alder cones, which is a great product to add to your blackwater tanks, to your shrimp tanks, to your soft water aquariums. Provides natural tannins, allows you to naturally and slowly drop the pH in your aquariums. It's a great product. This is a 4-ounce bag. It has tons of cones in it. It will last you a very long time. It also helps support this channel because Nature Forged Aquatics is my brand. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later.